G'day. We're here at Getty's Lane, and I'm here with Moses, and I'm
Hi.
Spencer. We're going to do an interview. I'm going to ask him lots and lots of questions.
Wow.
So, is Moses Carr your real name?
It is my real name. It's my birth name, but I actually have some middle names as well.
And what's your middle name?
Hogan and David.
Logan David.
Hogan David.
And David.
Yeah.
What I like about your name is that you've got so many ways of spelling it. You've got Mose S. Carr.
Yeah.
Mogus Carcassonne.
Right.
I think I've seen Mogus Carcassonne as well.
Mogus Carcassonne.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not me.
Oh, well. That's a new one.
That's nice. Where'd you see that?
I thought I saw you did it.
Mogus Carcassonne.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, but lots of different ways to spell your name.
That's true.
What else have I left out?
I was thinking of an artist name that's Hogan, just using like Hogan, but like putting a space in between.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moses Carr came from the idea of just like that trend of people cutting up their name to have a sense of anonymity. Anonymity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I like most about your music is, and I think everyone likes about your music, is the persona that you get across. That's the main point of it.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think you've gone through a lot of phases in personas.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
So your first persona, let's sort of go chronologically.
Right.
Your first persona, you had long hair.
Yeah.
And that was when you released that your first album.
Right.
So can you go into detail about the nuances of that, if that meant anything to your music?
I think that was like the long hair was initially a personal choice in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
But also that warranted a certain type of music that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And with all that long hair, there was so much keratin and so much nutrients coming through into my scalp.
And charisma.
Yeah. That I need to kind of express that through the music. Yeah, so I wrote Digestion Congestion around about that time. And I think I'd chopped it kind of yay height.
Yeah, you did. It was very silky smooth.
Yeah, that was a very impulsive move. Yeah.
And then the next one was the Horticulturist. Was that the next one?
Oh, I think Horticulturist was before Digestion, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was the one after that one?
So there was Horticulturalist when I had long hair.
Yep.
Then there was Digestion Congestion from last year.
Oh, great.
In July, yeah.
So how has it evolved into the next one, following that chronologically? At what point in your release schedule did you cut your hair?
I think I must have cut it to like medieval length before I dropped Digestion Congestion. That's probably what happened. But like maybe like a month or two just before, if I remember correctly.
I think when we take on a lot of projects, people start looking the way I look.
Yeah, right.
Don't cut your hair. You don't shave.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You seem like a busy man, but you keep a clean-shaven look about yourself.
Yeah. I'm sort of maintaining a more cleaner look, less maintenance at the moment.
I've got friends of mine who think you have a bit of a robotic persona in your music.
Oh, right.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like all the other avenues of like my creative ventures are very like organic and bubbly and loopy, but the beat thing is very like razor sharp and very rigid sometimes, and that definitely has a robotic and digital aspect. Yeah.
What do you think? There's an album that you released that marks that change significantly?
From non-robotic to robotic?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just an ongoing exponential thing.
Transcension.
But I've never thought about trying to aim for a robotic sound. That's maybe something that's...
Yeah, that's not really what I meant.
Right.
I just mean in terms of your aesthetic.
Right.
Because I know you're all about that.
Yeah. I feel like I'm about aesthetic at certain points in my timeline, but I don't have any clear aesthetic. I feel like, if anything, I'm just sort of like taking a stab in the dark, and that I'm not really putting any attention to detail in that.
But it's obnoxious in a way, and you're very certain in the way you
I'm
want
very
to
what,
put
sorry?
it. Certain and the way you put it out there.
Okay.
What was the film clip you did? And you had that dancer on the street. It was really recent.
Oh yeah, for Deadweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the dancers in the car park.
Yeah, they were dance. But there was another one. It's you and Lucky.
Right.
You did a promo clip.
Oh
you guys
yeah.
Are, like yelling at each other about their subtitles.
Yeah. Bend Me Broken. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that clip was directed by my good friend and housemate lover, Lucas Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the start of our like creative ventures together. We wanted to make something fluid. We wanted to make something a lot about running, something kind of introspective.
Yeah.
We just shot it in a day and kept it pretty simple.
In order to keep your because you have such a close connection with your aesthetic and your music,
right?
Sort of how do you get around like keeping both balls rolling? Like
the aesthetic lane and the music lane.
Are you working on the music at the same time as the clip's being made, or is the clip more of an afterthought?
The clip was definitely an afterthought at that stage. Like, I wanted to make something in some capacity with Lucas and like showed him like 6 different tracks. I was like, what do you think of this? And I didn't have any clear schedule or like campaign or anything for the track. I just wanted to make some shit. Yeah. That's basically where that came from.
Do you wish you could make the clip the same day you make the music? Yeah,
I feel like that would be really nice for certain types of music.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially with beat making in a hip hop way, like you make stuff really fast and you make really impulsive decisions, and it's very much about that moment.
You don't want to spend days and days on a beat.
Sorry?
You don't want to spend days and days on a beat.
Exactly, yeah. And like some of the best shit flows really fast. Sometimes it takes really long, and I think that's cool too. But I think going that further step of making a clip straight away would be awesome. Yeah.
So
I don't know how you'd facilitate that. That's cool.
Yeah. Back with your aesthetic.
Right.
And so I think you might have mentioned earlier that you're still transcending into like sort of your future image of yourself.
Right.
How do you intend to go further when it's already really out there?
My own aesthetic?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's only out there in a very minuscule way. Social circles that I know, friends and family. So I feel like I still have...
Social's different to... I'm talking about representation, not like...
Right.
Man, you're not known in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I still feel like the sky's the limit, and like I haven't settled on anything at all in this particular stage, and I've just been like poking my finger in different pies and trying stuff and seeing what sticks.
Reflection.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah, I'm definitely learning about what I like at this stage and keeping it pretty loose.
It's not like a bigger and better aesthetic each time to you.
I'd love to say that like it's bigger and better in different ways, like the music's becoming a bit more focused, or I have a stronger message to say. That's where I'd like to be.
Okay.
But I think there's going to be a turning point soon where I'm more clear about how I represent myself, and it might be completely different from what I can even fathom now.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm kind of excited for that.
Yeah, well, that's why I like what you're saying with how you can't spend too long on one musical idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might think differently later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like with the range of different styles and tempos and things that I'm working with, some things just need to take a while because you can't spend like 2 hours making the skeleton of a song and do the bells and whistles. You need to have like a little bit of time to sit and think. I feel like the day after you make a track, that kind of hangover, weird sort of honeymoon period where you've just like purged a bunch of creative shit, and then you listen to it the next day. That's so pivotal.
It is
in terms of your own perspective of what I've made, what it means, the context of everything else that's going on. So I think like sleeping on stuff. Some tracks I've worked on for like 5 months, and like it's just been like so much back and forth, and I feel like I really pushed myself to finish it at a certain point, and I'm happy that I did that.
Well, what about do you think through composed music suits you better?
Composing music?
Through composed music. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think my music's entirely through composed, but it's definitely like a workflow and a process that I really admire, and I allow that to be as part of the process, if that makes sense.
perhaps your aesthetic is through composed.
Yeah, maybe, for sure. I never, like... I'm sure you might be the same as well. In terms of form and arrangement, like... It's always... I always let the sounds tell me where they need to go, whether something needs to come up or down.
That's improvisation, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I think... Yeah, I definitely vibe that hard. Is the crux of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, it's good that it seems like the music that like your involvement with music's involvement in your life is it happens in a very subtle way instead of like it's something that you have to sit down for and spend time doing it, like make a conscious decision. Yeah. So are you thinking about when you think about your aesthetic, are you thinking about what sort of person you're like at the time and sort of how that's going to get reflected later on? Is that what's sort of informing you of your later compositions?
So me viewing myself as a person making music and how I...
Yeah, do you think it's more reflection-based rather than compositional?
How is it what, sorry?
More reflection-based than compositional.
Oh, man. That's such a heavy question. Yes and no, for sure. Oftentimes, like, my beats feel like a vehicle for me to go somewhere else or kind of, like, subtract the mundane. But sometimes they're clearly, like, you know, that pure expression where you're got an emotion that you're kind of trying to capture. Or sometimes it's something as practical as, like, I saw a dope band and, like, there was an element that I really want to use today because I was really feeling that yesterday. Yeah. So it's like this big melting pot of like the right time and space, how much energy I have. Yeah. Whether I need to make something fast because I'm going to be out the door in 2 hours, or whether I have the whole day to really like marinate on something, or whether I'm doing two things at once and sometimes like it might be a little bit stale and cold.
Maybe you have a dope friend over and you want to make a beat together.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That shouldn't be too premeditated. Yeah.
What friends are usually over in the studio?
What friends are usually over in the studio? I've been working a lot with Gabriel LCR. Do you know him?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. He's a sweetheart. We've been working together for a while, primarily on his music. Well, always on his music. And he's a great producer as well. I really love his like approach and his like discipline on creating layers and textures that are very like I said earlier, focused. Like there's not too much going on. And obviously like there's a lot of space left for the vocal. I think that's something I've learned a lot from working with Gabe. Definitely. Because I have a tendency of filling a lot of layers. Oh, yeah. You know, like the Flying Lotus, LA Beat Scene School of Thought.
Is that because you tend to produce more solo?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like when you get a start doing that, you fall into the same habits. Yeah. So it was really nice unlearning that with him. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you... I know you didn't do a performance course at VCA, but when you were... doing that, did you find yourself having to accompany other people on piano or accordion?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, prior to that in high school, I was doing a lot of accompaniment, a lot of ensemble work, and when I'm playing gigs with other bands, I'm providing a role for someone else. I think that's super important.
Yeah. Do you prefer... I think a lot of pianists prefer just comping to actually like laying it down. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
It's different every time. You have to listen a lot more with your voicings. Yeah. And support the soloist.
Definitely. You can think about voicings as like palettes within the frequency range, you know what I mean? Like how far do I want to go up? How spread does it want to be? How close does it want to be? Yeah. Maybe it can be big but only in short bursts around another layer. And I think having a background in production really helps with that. I'm sure you'd agree as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Comping really exposes a lot about how good of a job you're doing for the soloist.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I feel like I still have a lot to learn in that regard.
Yeah, you know? Don't we all?
Yeah, yeah.
But so you mentioned you're in a blacksmith earlier. Yeah. You're just sweeping the floors there.
Am I what?
Just sweeping the floors there, I think you said.
I sweep the floors last.
Oh, do it last.
Yeah, because at that stage, there's a lot of dust that's been collected, and I want to just sweep that at the end, and that's kind of the last hurrah. I sweep that into an ash bucket, and then put that in the red bin. It's gone.
And that's your job there?
That's my job there, yeah. But before the sweeping, I'm like collecting coke, putting into coke bins and coke bags for them to sell it.
That's hefty.
Yeah, really hefty. I'm also cleaning the anvils, general procedures, cleaning the toilet.
Do you find it therapeutic?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like up until recently, like I haven't had much labor kind of gigs or like any job that I've had to do which is really physical.
Labor's great.
It is great. It harkens back to my football days.
Bit of a footy player.
Yeah. I grew up with it. I think it was kind of the wrong sport. It wasn't necessarily formatted for my body type or my sense of camaraderie, because like I loved everyone on my team, but when it got down to it, it was like just a mess when you're playing, you know what I mean? Like it's a pretty ugly sport. But
it's a little if you're not really in the testosterone, it's not the best sport for you.
That's right.
I hate the stereotype, but that's just the way I see it.
No, you're right.
So outside of music, what do you find your main thing is to just distract you from music?
I think like when I'm not doing music, it's very clear whether I'm still in a music frame of mind or I have things billowing, or if I completely shut that off. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's like certain things where you could be cooking, but you're listening to something, or you're listening to a podcast and you're still actively involved in it even though you're not making anything. So there's definitely that side of the coin, which I really embrace. But more recently, I've been trying to just cut it off and be like, look, I'm going to like cook a meal or go for a run or do something.
Yeah, no music.
But let me think, like, I suppose cooking is a really big one. Yeah. Because it's so practical and it's like something I need to do. Yeah.
Peace and quiet.
Peace and quiet.
Still extremely valuable to any musician.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as we love music. Yeah. You got to get it a little.
It can be tiresome.
Yeah, it
and
really
like
is.
It's hard because like you get to a certain point, you can't switch off the analyzing thing. You know, like
mine's just.
I can't go to a bar and just like not listen to what's going on. Yeah, especially if there's a DJ. I'm like listening to how he's mixing it and like
tune or something.
Sorry,
if they're playing a dope tune.
Yeah, if I'm playing a dope tune, I'm gonna be on Shazam. I'm out of the conversation.
Yeah,
yeah.
A big pitfall.
A big what?
It's a big pitfall.
It is a big pitfall. It's also a pit bull.
It's a big pit bull.
It's a big pit bull.
So, are you interested in other medias? Like, so, I like watching lots of cartoons. So that's my little thing to.
Oh wow, that's cool.
To just separate myself from that.
Yeah.
What's that little thing that you do before bed to kind of remove yourself from everything?
I feel like my spread of YouTube, like on the homepage, I just let that fly and see what happens. Yeah. Sometimes if it's boring enough, which is probably ideal, then I can go to sleep earlier, but then I might get enthralled in some interview or something. Yeah. But in terms of media, I reckon I'm most fascinated by like theater and like live dance. I reckon that shit is so interesting. And a lot of people in our generation and our circles like don't shed a light on that as much. Yeah. I think that the perhaps one issue there is that you can't see theatre at a place like the Retreat. Yeah, that's true. And what sort of young person is going to the Malt House every Tuesday? Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, absolutely. There's less infrastructure. Is there any venue that exists for that demographic we're talking about? There used to be a place called Cecil Street that I frequented ages ago when I was younger, but that's since deceased. But nowhere in particular. Like La Mama was a good spot. But I don't see enough theatre that I can really put my finger on it. Yeah. It's something I want to do more, is probably what I should say. I think places where there's more young people, it's going to be more progressive. Yeah. And more engaging in a lot of ways. Yeah. Yeah. For instance, like, I think it's appalling when you go to the Melbourne Jazz Festival. Yeah. And the headliner's at Hamer Hall. But it's like Herbie Hancock or something, and you want to groove along to it. Right, but you have to sit down. Yeah. Yeah. The context is very important. Yeah, for sure. Did you see that gig? I didn't, no. Oh, okay, yeah. Was it at Hamer Hall? I didn't see it. Okay. But it was at Hamer Hall, though. Oh, was it? Yeah. I feel bad for those people. It's so hard, I feel like, curating and formatting things that are, like, new and interesting enough, but not too far-fetched where you're kind of like juxtaposing an artist in a venue that doesn't work. Like, there's a fine line. I feel like what you're doing here is really perfect. This is a new venue. Mm-hmm. We're on the middle floor. We have enough room for some CRTs, and like I feel like this makes sense, even though it's unconventional.
Yeah, I just think it's important to have music that in a venue that sort of is appropriate for its audience. Like,
yeah.
Which is why Hamer Hall is a problem with the jazz festival.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
If you find... It sort of brings up the question, like, maybe the people that inspire you more are just the people in your closer circle, closer community.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
You can see them more often.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you also see them grow outside of the music and outside of the actual content that they're creating.
Yeah.
And then you see how that jigsaw fits into their life and how they navigate that, how much time they allocate to admin, who they surround themselves with. Like, that's a really important one, who you choose to hang out with.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well, as I always say, true friends inspire each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's special. TFIE.
Yeah.
TFIE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What inspires you in general?
Oh,
conceptually.
That's a huge one. I think seeing my friends do cool things is super special.
Yeah.
I think also meeting new people and being like, how did I not know about you? Or like,
yeah.
I feel like it completely cracks the pavement and you see yourself from a different perspective when you work with someone and it's like mutual, like you haven't met each other, and you like think about what do they think about my craft and my process that I haven't thought already, or like what is it like as a first impression?
Do you find it makes you more outgoing?
Sorry?
Do you find it makes you more outgoing?
Does it makes it more outgoing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon for sure. I just think it's so cool to like have that first impression with any form of art. I think it's so exciting, whether you're playing music to someone for the first time. There's like a sense of anxiety in there. Like it's so exposing, right? When you're playing music around friends, it's kind of like whatever. But there's that element of surprise that I'm so fascinated by. Yeah, I feel like I get more excited about shows that I know that I'm not playing to people that I know.
Oh yeah, I'm exactly the same. Yeah. But why is it whatever? Like, do you think it's because, like, going through your head, are you thinking, oh, they've already seen me do this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that all it is to you?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is all that. Maybe it's just that, and maybe I kind of like see it from a lens of like, Spencer's at the gig again, like, oh, I should have worked on the set a bit differently because he's gonna think the same of me. You know what I mean?
It's really funny how I get this. It happens to me as well.
Yeah.
So how do you get spontaneity in your work when you're working behind Ableton all the time?
Spontaneity at home, like when I'm
in a live set.
Oh, in a live set.
Spontaneity in a live set for you?
I think like the less preparation I do, the more spontaneous it'll be. And like kind of leaving it a little bit open to like elements like the crowd and being like, oh cool, maybe it's time to like bring it up a notch. I often like to start my sets at a lower BPM and then see where it goes from there. Sometimes I start at like 80 and then I'm like, nah, let's kick it up to 120 already. Like I'm already ready to move there. I have enough material that's kind of gonna ignite the energy.
So it's just really the BPM. Is that the main thing that makes it spontaneous?
BPM.
Yeah, the BPM.
Yes. That's the take-home point.
What about, is there anything more than like a keys solo that can make it spontaneous for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like because I have a certain amount of preparation, like I cut out all the stems of the track. So that means I can, on the fly, sort of micromanage and juggle different parts of the track at once. Yeah. So seeing how one track goes into the next can lead me on a different track. Or sometimes I get stuck in the middle point of like one track and the next. I'm like, oh, this is kind of dope. I'll let this play for a bit longer. And then I have the harmony of one thing and the beat of the next. And then I'm kind of sitting in this weird limbo world. I'm like, maybe this is its own thing.
It opens up another possibility for a new song, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love, like, for me, my live set is such a celebration of my music and the music that I listen to. Sometimes, like, just today, I was, like, listening to the sample. I figured it out on keys. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to learn how to play it for this gig. I'm just going to, like, play it. Yeah. So I just, like, ripped it, chopped it up, put it over a track I'd already made with the drums. I love that's an element of spontaneity that I love. Yeah. Like prior to a gig, being like, this is some dope shit that I'm listening to. I'm gonna juggle and remix stuff that I've already made and create something different. Yeah. Like I know after this interview, I'm gonna chop up some more shit before I play.
We've had our disagreements before on. On Ableton, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
Whether or not it encourages creativity, or if it's just to me, my problem is that the sky's the limit with it. And
Yeah,
there's
right.
not enough limitation
Yeah.
to sort of work within it.
That's such a good point.
Do you have anything in your studio to sort of create that limitation outside of Ableton?
Yeah, don't have any gear. I have a Moog that I just got like 2 months ago.
Yep.
I have my MIDI keyboard and I have a microphone. That's it. So that's like a limitation that I've created kind of initially out of necessity, but I'm at a point now where I'm not hungry to get more gear because I still feel like there's still enough to like experiment within that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I feel like that's something I want to like instill in other people, that like you can't validate your sound or get excited by continually buying gear. Like, it's not going to help your sound. Like,
it's not. You've got to make good music from shit gear.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And like, if you think about the pioneers of the music that we love, they're making shit with samplers that only has 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So in terms of Ableton being sky's the limit, like, that's scary.
They were doing things back in the day with that sample time. They had to speed up the record.
Yeah.
And then slow it back down in the sampler.
Exactly. Yeah. Like tricks of the trade and ways that gear informs certain things is so fascinating. Hey.
What is while Ableton has so many possibilities, what's the limitation you find that's almost similar to that 10-second sample time?
Within Ableton or my workflow? I think like being in my own head and like I have a habit of listening to my own music a lot. I'm always bumping the next mix, and then like once I'm on that train, I'm like transporting somewhere, and then I keep listening to the other shit that I made in the last month. I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? And I feel like, I don't know. That's hard to answer. I feel like I went down the wrong rabbit hole with that. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's at least you recognize that you can't create more than what is physically possible in your mind.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think that's a beautiful moment as well. It's really like a bit of an ego death that we all have every week, where we're just like, oh fuck, I'm kind of making the same thing but a little bit different. Yeah. Which has its merit.
Yeah. So your spontaneity, it's happening in the studio, it's happening on stage. Can you see it happening anywhere in aesthetic at all? Or is that
in terms
still
of the way
just
I present
purely
myself?
Reflective? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, inherently, it's always going to be spontaneous. I feel like I'm at a stage where it's like I feel like I haven't even started my career yet, and I'm just fucking around. Yeah. So I feel like that's so spontaneous.
What is the line you have to cross to acknowledge that?
I feel like for me, it's kind of like everything's a research project at the moment. I can't get this idea out of my head of being like everything's an experiment. I make a song with someone. Maybe it's not more than just an experiment, but I feel like that maybe that's a self-deprecating mindset to be in, because you can never get out of that. It's the same reason that people don't put out music, because they are being like, oh, this is cool, I've learned something out of this. I don't want to put it out because in a couple of weeks I'm going to be better. Yeah. But it's also like, I feel like in terms of my own potential and the way that people receive my music, I could do more to think about what my audience actually is and things of that nature. So I feel like for my next project, I want to be really conscious of that and launch something that I feel like is a new chapter of what I want to do. Okay. Yeah. So always about turning a new page? No. What I'm trying to say is that like I've been in kind of this limbo land of like writing the blurb over and over again. What is Moses Carr? Does he have long hair? What sort of beats does he make? You know, is he sampling? Is he writing stuff? Is he collaborating? But we're about to start the book soon. And then from that point, there'll be different chapters. I haven't really like thought about it, but I feel like that's a grand vision. So hey? You've got a grand vision there. I think I have a grand vision. Yeah. Is it going to come out in volumes? I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be EPs and albums. Bodies of work. Hey? Bodies of work. Bodies of work. Yeah. Absolutely. I hear a lot of rappers doing that. They make like 2 albums at once. Yeah. And they have like a whole like storyline planned out. Yeah. I know Schoolboy Q did that with no shit. With 3 he made 3 albums, and wow. He had like a particular narrative he wanted to drive across all of them. That's so awesome. I get inspired heaps by that. And the idea of creating narratives within instrumental music in the same way, I think is super important and something that I kind of like leave to the wayside.
Yeah.
I know same with Anderson .Paak with his last 2 albums. He was consciously working on them, creating shit, and then kind of like at the fork in the road, he was choosing what songs would work on what project. Definitely the same narrative. Like, that was a more sonic approach, but like heaps of rappers are like very conscious of like, all right, this is going to be the next thing, or like, how does that sort of timeline work? It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've asked you everything I needed to.
Thank you. I feel brimming.
Yeah. Anything you want to like push out to the people watching this now?
Keep an eye on me. Keep an eye on Close Counters. Keep an eye on Lucky Pereira. Keep an eye on Jim Alexander. Keep an eye on Chicken Wishbone. Keep an eye on 56K. Keep an eye on El Shamada. Keep an eye on Abby Howlett. That's what I'm going to say for now.
Keep an eye on your kids.
Keep an eye on your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your parents and those that you love.
That goes without saying. I got to do that more.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure having you, Moses.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting.
My pleasure.
Catch you guys.